How's it going? How y'all doing? It's another episode of Lostlikemike. I'm your host, Mike Gonzales, and I'm happy to be here tonight. Do you believe that? No, but honestly, thank y'all for coming by and hanging out in the conversation. As always, a little housekeeping. Please like and subscribe and share it. And I really love the comments and the emails. My email is lostlikemike@gmail.com. What a week. I'll start off by saying a few things about last week's episode out the gate real quick, if you would allow me to, and then we'll get into some things, because if I'm being completely honest, I recorded the episode last night, and I'll get into that in a minute, but for several reasons I chunked that episode, and so this is a redo, but all right, so first things first. This is episode 3. And if you noticed, and for those of you that have been following along, I went from 2 to 4. I had several people reach out and ask what happened to number 3, or where can we find number 3. And apparently that's what I get for starting from episode 0, because when I was counting the episodes and posting episode 3, I counted 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 3 as being 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, that's what I get for starting from 0, being, thinking that was the way to go. But yeah, no big deal. I just, it was going to be a pain to change in the directories and whatever. So as punishment, I said that I would do like a Days of Future Past, Back to the Future thing, where I'm releasing episode 3 after number 4. So I'm about to talk about the dumb things that I said in the future on episode 4. If you listen to these chronologically, don't get confused. I'm not psychic. I'm just going over what some of the dumb things that I said on the last episode, which is in the future. Episode 4. Entitled Moo Cows Drink Water, which was a reference to me embarrassing myself in front of a bunch of people. But I don't get really embarrassed. We should talk about that in a minute. It's funny. I've come to not be embarrassed by being embarrassed often. I sing in a cover group where we try, when possible, to field requests. We play a lot of requests in downtown tourist city that we live in. We have different people all the time asking for the same range of songs. So on occasion, if we're feeling brave, we tell everybody it's a 50-50 shot. You know what I mean? Like, you request at your own risk. If I have no idea, I'll negotiate and try to steer away from whatever request they made. But so often I'll think in my mind, oh, I know this song, I've heard it a million times, and then we'll try to figure it out, and we'll start the song, And it's like getting past that point of the line in a roller coaster where you realize there's no turning back. You're going to have to go on the roller coaster, which, by the way, I hate roller coasters. But yeah, it's that feeling, that sensation like, oh, I know what's coming. This is going to suck. And sometimes I recover. Sometimes it's a train wreck. I mean, and I've done it so many times that I used to get like that feeling of like judgment and oh no, but you know, it's like I talk about, sometimes you just can't get your validation from people, even though I so often seek that validation from other people. It's not healthy to do so, but it's a little early for tangents, but regardless, anyway, so back to what I was saying. Episode 4. So apparently I was told by several listeners that several times I referenced I referenced a learning disability, and I called several times. I talked about this learning disability that my daughter's has, and you know, I will admit it's a blessing and a curse. You know, I've done a lot of research. There are some qualities to people that have this learning with the learning disabilities, what's classified as, because they tap into a level of creativity, and they make connections where other people don't see the connections, and they think outside the box, etc., etc. And I spoke very seriously about this learning disability, and I stated at least 4 to 5 times. I shudder to even think of going back to the episode and listening to it. But the learning disability is dyslexia. But apparently my speech impediment, or it is an inability to pronounce words, apparently. Because for the entire episode, call it dyslexia. Or dyslexia. I said it several different ways, none of which was the correct way. So I apologize. I have it written here, dyslexia. It is dyslexia, and I have learned from the errors of my ways, and I promise you I will never call it by the wrong name again, intentionally or otherwise. Well, perhaps to make light of myself in the future, I don't mind doing that, but yeah. Not the first time I've said something dumb on this show, and it won't be the last. So let's move on. I guess I should state, this may be a shorter episode. I did the math wrong on the amount of time that I had allotted to upload episodes, and before my thing renews, you don't care about this stuff, but I'm just saying, I ran a little long on the early episodes, so in the pursuit of satisfying my OCD, I'm probably going to have one episode that's a little shorter, which I think is going to be tonight, because like I said, I'm not feeling too great, or what I'm about to say. So I did record an episode last night. All right. Number 1, the microphone didn't work, which, if you were following past episodes, that's nothing new. User error again. me all day. I plugged it into the laptop, which is its source of power, and proceeded to not turn on the laptop. So it shut off almost immediately. Yeah. But I noticed it, the microphone anyway. Pretty much right away, I moved on. I said, let's continue recording. I didn't even mention it on the camera. And then about 30 minutes into the podcast, my recording device ran out of storage and shut down. I had just looked at a time check. That's how I know it was like 30 minutes in. Plus, before I deleted it, I looked at it and it was 30 minutes. But I had been talking post that for about, give or take, 20 plus minutes. And I was in a bad place anyway. I've talked about it before. I record on Thursday nights currently because that's where I'm at schedule-wise. But it's coming off of playing, getting like 2-3 hours of sleep on from Wednesday to Thursday. So I'm trying to shift it, but there's a lot that goes into having a show with such randomness. No, but so currently I'm sort of stuck in this having to do it on Thursday nights, or as you're seeing today, I'm doing it on Friday to release on Friday, which I'll probably won't edit as hard. Not that I've been editing too bad, but yeah, so this one's gonna be a bit raw. It's okay. But I was in a bad place last night. I was not only tired, but just not feeling great. And again, to be honest, I started feeling like I was hitting my stride in that last unrecorded 20 minutes. I mean, for all you know, the whole thing was a magical hour that you'll never hear, but I mean, because I deleted the one half, I was just so frustrated. And I tried to go back and, catch that mood, start the recording and get a second half. But I could not get the groove back. I was just so bent that everything had just lined up perfectly to just be garbage that I was set up. You know what? I'm gonna call it a night. I'm not gonna do it, and then I'll do a redo tomorrow. I'll do a. So here we are, take 2. But I really was, in that last 20 minutes, I was starting to feel myself and feel comfortable. And so it's a drag, Anytime that there's technical malfunctions and there's, you're trying to, especially during the speed round where I'm just hitting different topics and just trying to be loosey-goosey. And then I really feel like I reach a deeper place and then look up and it's all zeros. Everything's stopped and it's just an awful feeling. All right. So to begin, let's say I was able to get my heart tests scheduled for the end of this month. It was as soon as they all could get me in. I'm doing stress tests and assorted other tests. So I'm very excited about that. I did get the go ahead to work out. I think I mentioned that last episode, but this is all about accountability and I'm having a really hard time starting, which kind of leads to the second update, because I've been working really hard on the book and I finished all the illustrations, first run of all of them. I did a whole bunch of tidbits. Yeah, here's the thing. we're going to talk about setting goals and things like that. That's like the topic I wanted to hit today. It's been on my mind, but there is something for those that may be needing to hear this, wanting to accomplish something and feeling deterred or not so motivated because they don't see results. I've been around long enough to get on the other side of that, to where so many little steps lead up to the bigger accomplishment, but it feels at times like you're just casting in the water, casting your reel and laying hooks all over the place, and it's all about setting up and putting everything where it goes, and then on one day just everything happens. Today felt a lot like that. It felt a lot like that because with the book I've been working so hard on researching how to do certain things and all of the requirements it takes, and everything was, file this, file that, apply for this. And I don't want to bore you with the details concerning all that stuff, but needless to say, today my phone was going off with emails from banks and the Library of Congress, all these different things, with information needed for the copyright page and just all over the place. The bank approved my bank account and was ready to finalize some documents and all these things that it was taking phone calls to set up and all these different steps. It just felt like one after another, and every time you get to the finish line and they said, well, before you do that, now you have to do this, this, or this. All right, man, I got this, and this. Now what? Okay, well, can you do this, and this? And it just felt like somebody was, moving the finish line back every time. And I'm not even done yet. But my point is that today was one of those milestone days where it makes everything okay for a little bit, because you start seeing the fruit of your labor. Accomplishments start happening, where it starts to feel a little bit real. So just to put that out there for anybody who is wanting to do something significant and they feel like it's not happening fast enough. Yeah, it's just patience, man. It's coming. So yeah, I started out by yesterday. I wasn't feeling too great. I was a little bit bummed. I had a situation happen where it brought to mind a lot of feelings about sometimes bad people will exploit good people that are just trying to do something positive, right? Which sounds pretty vague, but I'm just leading up to an example. As I said, I've been doing all these things to prepare for self-publishing this book, and part of it was to set up this publishing company, and I chose, even though I'm a sole proprietor, I chose to do it with an EIN number for tax purposes and for a bank account. I was and I know you can use your social as that EIN number, but it's a tax thing, to separate mine and, that kind of thing. So I was on the phone with the person from the bank, and I said, hey, I would like to set up a bank account. They said, well, you're going to need an an EIN number, which stands for Employer's Identification Number. And we talked briefly about using my social, and then we got into taxes. Anyway, long story short, I get off the phone and my mind's into problem solving mode. Let's do this. Let's get this number. So I start typing into Google, as anybody does who wants to get something done quickly. And I find myself on this website. I see USA. I just keep clicking away. I'm typing in my name, my information. And then I noticed that it says that this process was going to cost like $240, $250, something like that. And so I stop and I say, it gives me a pause because I don't have $250. And I certainly don't have $250 to blow on some number, right? That arguably you may or may not need. But, excuse me, I needed a drink. But I didn't automatically shut it off. And that's kind of key to what is frustrating to me. I started thinking, my natural train of thought was, this is really important to me. I've worked really hard on this book. I want to do it in the way that I want to do it. I want to release it in the way I want to release it. I want to be a self-published author. I want to control these things. I want to, and so now $250 is standing in the way of me doing that. And it even had a caption, it takes up a couple days. If you want it rushed, it's $270. And I said, no, man. But it really gave me pause. I really was like, man, I want this. I need this. Do I need it bad enough to figure out a way? And so as I'm having all of these thoughts, I look down at the order form with the information, and I read the fine print saying that it's a third-party site. I have an epiphany. I say, wait a minute. What website am I on? I thought I clicked the first one, so I thought naturally that's irs.gov. It wasn't. I exited the site and I go to irs.gov. I type in EIN. It asks for a couple things. It asks for a couple of bits of information. And 5 minutes later, I have the EIN number in hand for free. The website was a scam, set up to prey on people such as myself that want to do something creative in their life, want to do something outside of the role that they are forced to play. And some obstacle stands in their way, and the question of whether or not are they willing to do what it takes to get to the next step. And I've seen sites like this. The ones that take any normal document that you need to fill, any process that's free or inexpensive, but they'll do it for you, right? They'll help you fill it out. And it's predatory. And what gets me the most angry about it is that often enough, it's artists and musicians and writers, creative people that are taken advantage of. Because naturally they're creative, left-brain people. I mean, I've always teetered on right down the middle. You know, I fancy myself to be a very creative person, very artistic person, an expressive person, but I enjoy business. I enjoy the book smart stuff. You know, my degrees in business administration. It's just I love all that stuff. It's funny because in my current role, I'm taking these courses that are offered within the company, and today they were talking about the role of creativity in the business world. You know what I mean? And yeah, so there's a place for it, but the stigma is always that people that lean heavy on the creative side are not very knowledgeable when it comes to business. But I felt that feeling, man. And you probably have too. And here's the secret to it all. Because you don't know, it's ambiguous. What are the steps to being successful? To accomplishing, right? There's no one set path to creative success. So people that are wanting to aspire to be artistically successful, more often than not are willing to do whatever it takes to get one step closer to that reality. I mean, if I told you that there was a surefire way to win the lottery, you would follow those steps, right? Right. But there is not one cookie cutter plan to be a rock star or to be a movie star, an actor. But so it just really got under my skin. I started to think about how many times in my life, see, I'm not afraid of hard work. But I think that there's a danger to not being afraid of hard work. Because when you don't know the necessary steps, or you don't know that there's no such thing as necessary steps that guarantee anything, and somebody tells you, well, build this brick wall, well, I'm going to build the best damn brick wall you ever seen, and you spend your time and your effort doing something that at the end of the day, didn't move you any closer towards that goal. But in your mind, you're thinking, well, I just got to put in the hours. You hear these celebrities talking about, just got to work harder than the next guy, and it's not true. That's not the reality. See, and this is gonna sound like I don't want it to sound like a TED Talk or unsolicited advice. I don't want it to come off as if I am some authority on these matters. I've had modest success in aspects of my life. But it's important because sometimes people feel like they're losers, or they feel like they can't accomplish the things that they want to accomplish in their lives because they're not seeing the success in the creative avenues of their life, and they feel like they're exhausting themselves trying to get ahead or to get noticed or whatever the case is. But there's two different types of goals. And understanding that will put you miles ahead. And the only difference between the two types of goals is, one, there's a defined objective success versus a subjective success that's based on other people's opinions. Now, let's take the first one for example, right? Like if you were to say something simple like, I won't call it simple. If you have a defined goal like getting a college degree, there's a plan to follow. I remember going to a 4-year university. There was a curriculum that was for any different degree that you wanted to get. It was spelled out. Take this course, take that course, you win. It was completely mapped out. Financially mapped out. Now look, who you know, circumstances by which you were born and raised, I mean, there are absolutely, there's circumstances that can lead you to have an easier time of things. That's not really what I'm kind of concerned with. My only concern with that is that you don't use them as excuses. That you didn't come from this or didn't know this person, or, you know, if you go right now to Los Angeles and there's kids that their parents are super wealthy and you'll never know who they are. You'll never hear of them. They're afforded every opportunity and you'll never hear from, you know, they'll never be famous. But if you set on the first type of goal, you set an agenda, you have to spell out what you want. Do you want, in this vision, this final vision, do you want to have a degree with that you're top of your class, summa cum laude? Do you just want to just pass? You set the parameters of that goal, and then you define what it takes to get there. And you accomplish one thing after another. Like I was saying early in the beginning of this podcast, I have all these little mini goals leading up to larger ones, and sometimes I feel like I'm just, you know, starting one thing and then the goalpost gets moved a little bit further down. But if you just check the boxes, the objective part of the goal is there. It's quantifiable. There's evidence of it because, you know, the proof of it is in hand. I have a degree. I have the copyright. You know, whatever it is. But in terms of creative success, well, that's another animal. Because you can put your time in. You can do your 10,000 hours of honing your craft, playing an instrument, learning how to technically do all mediums regarding your art. And you can produce whatever form of expression that you want. And you can learn what's hot in the market right now. And you can surround yourself with a kick-ass team of professionals that, you know how to market your stuff and put yourself out there. Right? You can check all the boxes is my point. But your success, if it is tied to the creativity, which you're going to quantify in sales and in the critical acclaim that you receive, is going to be contingent on somebody's opinion or the masses' opinion of whether you're going to be. That was the universe telling me to change the subject soon. I'm losing y'all. That's the but it is the subjective opinion of the audience that's going to determine whether or not you're going to go viral, or you're going to be trending, or if you're going to sell records or books or whatever standard by which you judge that sales of streams or downloads. But it's not to say that you didn't check the boxes, and it's not to say that you didn't work really hard. You can research, you can find out what you need to do. You can, and that's the whole key to it, is if you understand that even if you do everything that's required of you, there's still a chance that you will, and I'd love to say that it's a meritocracy, you know. I remember I was in New Orleans in this, I had signed up many years ago to for American Idol. Let's not get too far into that subject, but I remember 4 a.m. walking around. People were lined up around the stadium for the auditions the next day, and they had the most beautiful voices. And the reason why I say, because they were singing, strangers walking up to each other on this long line doing 3-4 part, harmonies, and singing. The singing just filled the air, and it was a wonderful experience. That part of it was. But I remember they set us on these big battalions in front of these judge tables, and you'd march up to the front of your line, and these judges would listen to you sing a part of a song. Sometimes they'd ask you, like they asked me to sing a second part of a song. And then they said, and there was big announcements in the beginning saying, hey, just to let you know, this is entertainment. This is not, don't take it personal. There were 17,000 people. This is like one of these things. And in my battalion alone, which was, I think it was like 100 people in my battalion going up to this judge table, because they had these different judge tables on the actual field where the New Orleans Saints would play. And the judges would say, if we ask you to go left, you're in, or go right, that's the exit. Spoiler alert, I went right. Obviously, I'm not the American Idol of that year. So, but my point was that within my battalion alone, there was gorgeous voices, and in my mind, very attractive people, men and women, that I thought, geez, any one of these fools could just right now be like a pop star. I mean, not everybody wants to be a pop star. Some people want to be taken seriously as a singer-songwriter or like a performer, what have you. But I'm just saying, in terms of like, if I was an A&R just looking for somebody cute that had a voice that was amazing, just within my battalion, and you get to the front of the line, and I'm watching these people do their auditions, and I remember this one young girl. She goes up to the front, and just a nightingale, just beautiful tone of her voice, pitch control, vibrato, everything was just gorgeous. Not even overusing inflection. It was just, I was like, damn, like, okay, go left, I'm sure. No, they sent her to the right. And then this guy that was spray painted silver and he had made himself look like the Statue of Liberty, and was singing, I think it was Superstition from Stevie Wonder, but he was singing it like a robot. Whatever. And they took him. And I thought, well, there you go. I have no clue as to what America wants, or the show wants, or and you may say, well, that's just some BS show, but I've seen it time and time again. And the point is to say that you should not be disheartened by that. Just understand it. That, because I tell you what, like I said, don't use it as an excuse. It's all about being in the right place at the right time. But as the quote says, you need to guide yourself to that right place and right time. And inevitably it's going to be whether or not it's a crapshoot in the end. But like, for example, I'm doing this podcast. It's because it's what makes me happy. Right? It brings me joy. So nobody can listen to it. And ultimately you release the creative project, and if people are down with it, cool. If not, cool. If you understand it, then it changes the dynamic. I created a children's book, and yeah, I would love for kids to enjoy it, and for it to be popular, and who wouldn't want it to be commercially successful and to provide for your family doing something that you love and enjoy. I've released records, I've written songs. Of course you want them to be popular and for people to I've never tapped into that. There's some people that you meet and they wear their stuff a certain way, they buy certain outfits, or they do certain things, and it's like they just emanate cool. I've never done it to my level, where in my mind I'm like, I love my aesthetic right now. I love what I'm enjoying listening to. I love the songs that I'm writing. But there's certain people that just know how to tap into that zeitgeist of and put something out that everybody's all flipping out about, and just thinks it's the coolest thing. It reminds me of like on the Stranger Things episode where the metalhead comes out and he's jamming Metallica, and I grew up listening to all that, and he looked like a lot of the people that I used to hang out in the 8th grade with. But when I saw him do that on the show, I thought, wow, that's going to be popular and people are going to be talking about it and it's going to be a thing. And sure enough, it was just, but to think of doing something like that, it just doesn't seem like, I wouldn't have thought of it, like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if you do a throwback, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it just, some people are tapped into that. They have their finger on the pulse, or however you phrase that, of what's hip and cool, or knows how to do all that. But so the long and the short of it, or what I was aiming at, was to say that if you want to accomplish anything in your life, differentiate whether it's a clear defined goal, or if it's something that is based on people's subjective opinion. And then discover the steps that you need to take to achieve what you can control and what you can create, and know that don't take it personally if it doesn't catch on, or if it doesn't if you don't immediately have commercial success, it's just, you're just buying lottery tickets, and you can't win if you don't play. But you have to give yourself and put yourself in the position to enjoy it and have fun along the way. It's all. I just wanted to get the second part out because the first part frustrated me, and also, if you ever see those things on YouTube where people talk about what you need to do to succeed, or what you need to do to sometimes you hear about making passive income, and we'll tell you, if you click on here, we'll tell you how to do it. We'll tell you what you need to do to get there. And then they just drone on, and they never give you the keys. They never tell you what you need to do. And so I thought I would just blurt it out, make a large vision goal, and then have sub goals and achieve those sub goals, and you'll get to the bigger goal. If it's an objective success defined, you'll get there and you'll accomplish it. And that's from personal experience. If you have that in you, that willingness to do the hard work, then point yourself in the direction of achievement. As much as you want to put yourself towards these creative successes, right? As much as you want to do that, balance it with some of these goals that are attainable. Because then you can hang your hat on that and remind yourself when you're doing these other ventures that you are capable of these things. You know what I'm saying? Like whenever I think, can I do that? Can I put out it's easy to call yourself an entrepreneur, but can I create a product and put it out with my name on it? Can I do that? And then you say, well, you put yourself through school and we're able to work the system and get and not pay a penny. You earn that with scholarships or whatever. You did it while doing a full-time job and doing a second job, and still you did it. You remind yourself of these defined goals that you worked towards and did the things you had to do to get there. That's all I'm saying. When you're saying to yourself, I don't know if I could be vulnerable and put my music out there. I don't know if my song is what people are going to want to hear. You say, take the steps in order to do it, and you can control, and then you'll do more. So that felt a little preachy, so I'm going to drop it. I'm going to let it go. It's that whole preacher thing that I used to talk about. Perhaps somebody needed to hear that. Hopefully they did. Maybe I needed to hear that. You never know. Okay, so onward to the speed round. I think we have a few more minutes before I have to call it a day on this episode. This Back to the Future episode. One of the topics that was suggested was restoring faith in humanity and ways to do that. You see these kind of things where people are, they'll buy the groceries of the guy behind them, or pay for the coffee of the person in the drive-thru, Starbucks kind of thing, or people rescuing animals that are in inclement weather, and like they're going down the river and then some guy jumps in and grabs a dog or whatever, pulls a cat. I need more of that in my life. There's these YouTube ones that you can look up and watch, and sometimes it feels good, especially when I'm thinking about all these shysters hiding in the shadows and taking advantage of all these artists. I should, invest and try to surround myself with a little bit more positivity. Sometimes I just can't even look at social media, or it frustrates me with that. But if you have any suggestions as to positive sort of faith in humanity, reaffirming positivity, leave it in the comments or email me. So that's a good one. I'd like some more of that in my life, especially if I'm coming off too negative to y'all. Speaking of, on a lighter note, of humility and putting myself in check, keeping that humble pie at the ready. I overheard, it was overheard, my daughter was talking to her friend over, I wanted to say Skype. I mean, I don't even know who does Skype anymore, but she was FaceTiming her friend, and she goes, my daddy's teeth are yellow and they look like popcorn. Like popcorn. A little bit later on, I kind of angled towards trying to talk to her about it. I was like, and she said, well, Dad, your fake ones look pretty white. And I thought, man, it's gone from bad to worse. It's about coffee and tea. You know what? I'll get some whitening or whatever. But yeah. So last night I went off on this big tangent about poop stories with girls that I went out with in the past. Like, don't you wish you heard that? Like, I mean, I was thinking about it after I thought, man, that was all not recorded. That was the one part where I was like, that's probably for the best. I'm kind of happy that I didn't record it. Maybe we will in the future. We'll talk about it because it was pretty funny. There was this college, when I was in college, there used to be this website, and it had like AP articles, or like real scientific, well-researched papers that would be submitted, and I would research some of them. Like when I was doing research or doing different papers, I would go to this website. I ended up signing up for it, like subscribing to it for a while. But it's been a while since I've been in college. So in 2020, and I still get these emails from the website because I have such a popular name, especially in the Mexican culture. Gonzales is a very popular name. Michael Gonzales. There's a whole chapter in the phone book. Nobody uses phone books anymore, but you get my point. But I get these messages, these emails asking me to claim ownership of these research articles. And I wrote an article down, a title down. But I get these, and it's always like, hey, are you the Michael Gonzales that wrote the article, diffuse leptomeningeal spread of pleomorphic centrotrocytoma? And I've had like maybe 10 or 15 of these. I'm like, dude, I can't even say dyslexia. What are you talking about? I didn't write this. But I never want to delete it because I like knowing that my name is associated, not directly, but it's kind of like, I mean, people root for sports teams and half the players, or 100% of the players, are from all over the world, right? You're not cheering on your hometown buddies. So just because somebody's named Mike Gonzales and they wrote a paper about, I don't know, Mighty Morphin, whatever this stuff is, I could still take a wee bit of pride. You know? I can just be like, right on. Use that name. I don't know. But I was thinking about that the other day, that I can't bring myself to not have it. I like looking at the articles that are out there. Anyway. So this is going to be it for the episode. Thank you for listening, as always. For those of you that do listen, if you'll like, subscribe, share it. Anyway, I'll be back with this was episode 3. We'll be back with episode 5 on next Friday. And whether we feel like doing it or not, we will do it always. I will keep doing it, and I enjoy it. So thank y'all for hanging out in the conversation.